Hey guys, welcome to Family for Life. We're excited to have it here at Marion, and I'll be talking to you some, and so will Ted, but we'll also be talking to several hundred people at home and at church and with small groups. We are so honored that you would take the time out this evening to share with us. I know you don't want to see me. I know you're here for Ted and all his content, but we're blessed that you came and joined us and that he came up all this way from Georgia to spend this weekend here in Marion, Ohio. The reason why we do this Family for Life thing on top of Marriage for Life is because we know that a healthy marriage can lead to a healthy family, which can lead to a healthy marriage. They all kind of work together. And sometimes the fun thing to do is sit around with people and hear them tell stories that they're going through at their home. And you kind of laugh sometimes. Last night we were sitting with Ted and Nancy at our house and listening to them tell some awful stories that were going on with just some parenting stuff. And my wife just sat there and laughed, which was kind of weird. Like, why are you laughing? Because we've been there. We know what that's like. So hopefully tonight you will walk away with some tools, whether you're parenting or grandparenting, whether it's your first marriage, second marriage, whatever, there's tools in here. Or at very least you walk away encouraged, or at the very, very least you get to laugh for 20 minutes and realize that your life isn't maybe as messy as you thought, because this is the life God has given us and He's still with us in this. So I want to let you know that as you're sitting here live and sitting there at home, they're going to put a slide up there with a phone number. This is our phone number for Marriage for Life. Throughout tonight, if you ever have any questions, something Ted said you want more information about or you're curious about, send that to us. About halfway through tonight, we're going to do a question and answer time with Ted and Nancy. And then after that, Ted will share some more, and before the night ends, and we will end promptly at 8, there'll be another question and answer time with Ted and Nancy. So throughout the night, wherever you're at home or live here, take that number down. If you forget it throughout the night, it's actually on our website, mfl.family. You can always what did they say? Go back to it. Or yes, like some people here are doing, take a screenshot of it right now so you know what to come back to. Send us texts with questions, and we'll see the themes, and we'll talk to Ted and Nancy about it a bit. So before we start, I want to start with prayer. I want to invite Pastor Chuck. This is our lead pastor here at Marion, and he was the one who's kind enough to say, come and share this night with us here in Marion and share it with the world, really, with what God is doing. So Pastor Chuck's going to share a bit and pray over tonight. And Ted, when he's done, it's all you.
Thanks. We were privileged to have Ted this morning and did a tremendous job. And the message this morning was all about the power of words. And I want to let you know, half the people didn't listen because afterwards they said, Pastor Chuck, that was the best sermon you ever gave. And I was like, words hurt, and so they didn't get it. And then I also want you to know the other advice Ted gave us. He said, on your way out tonight, he said, or this morning, he said, grab your husband and give him a pat on the butt, on the way out and stuff. And you should have explained that more and explained that it should have been their husband, not me, because I got several of them on the way out, and it just felt inappropriate at times. So So anyway, so we're glad to have all of you here and all of you online as well, and it's just a great privilege to be able to host this thing. So let's pray together, inviting the Lord's presence in this place. Father, we just really thank you for the way that you show up and the way you inspire people to communicate your word to us in practical ways. And Father, we want to desperately live our lives for you. Thank you for the way that you connected with us. We thank you for the way you sent your son here on this earth to model things for us and to give us the ability to hear your word right in the flesh. And so right now, Father, we invite your presence in this place. Not that you need an invitation. This is already your place. This is your world. We're living in it, Father. And we just ask that we're just experiencing you in some real ways today. Allow us to evaluate our own lives, to hear some things today that might be challenging, and help us to live it out practically the way we want to serve you and serving our families, serving our spouses. Father, we thank you. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
How are you guys? You good? It's good to be back with you. Tonight, I'm talking about something very, very important, right? Let's see. Did you guys do the slides up on the back screen? There we go. It's called a confidence monitor for a reason. It gives me confidence. Hey, and everybody online watching, we're excited that you're here. We're going to have a great time, I think, tonight. Nancy and I have been married for 30 years, and we have 4 kids, and they're all perfect. If anybody ever tells you they're the perfect parent or they got the perfect kids, you need to run fast, because that is not a truth. but they're ranging in ages from 15 to 25. So we've got a lot of parenting miles on us, and we're tired. So I'll be sharing tonight some examples from our kids, but we, of course, are not coming from any place of perfection. We're coming from God's word and research and things that we can point towards. And we're still on this journey with you, dear friends. We're on there with you. And I will say this, the thing I get excited about is everybody watching and everybody here tonight, let me just make this very simple, but I think it's very powerful, is we all love our kids, don't we? We love them. They can drive us crazy, but we love our kids, and we're all doing the best that we can. But the reason a lot of us are here is we want to even do better, right? We want to make sure that we're doing the right things. But I think there's two things we can agree on, is that we all love our kids, and parenting can be very confusing at times, can it? You love them so much and you go, I don't know what to do about this situation. They were used to be like this and now they're like this. And I don't understand what to do with this. And we can live in this world of confusion. And there's no wonder that we're confused, because we've been being told since the 40s when parenting styles, the idea of parenting styles became popular, we get told different things per decade about the right way to parent. And this started all the way back in the 40s with Dr. Spock, and not that Dr. Spock, but the other Dr. Spock. And he wrote a book on parenting, and all of a sudden he's talking about it being relational. And it became like a parenting Bible almost for people. And it flipped things upside down, because all of a sudden it wasn't just about making your kids obey, it was about relationships. And then the 50s came with television, and we started watching shows like Father Knows Best. Yeah, this looks just like my home every night. I come home, they gather around, and they think, what brilliant thing is he about to say? Yeah, so we started watching, Father Knows Best, and I'm thinking, be honest, dads in the 50s, did they know their kid's middle name? How could they know best? Moms know everything. Moms know best. And then the pendulum swung really far, where we started parenting a lot of people with latchkey kids. Basically said, let yourself in, watch some reruns, and eat some preservatives, and we'll see you tonight when we get home from work. And then all of a sudden, what happened after this, who remembers that public service announcement at the end of the local news? All right. Exactly here.
Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
That is some low bar parenting. You think about this. They had to sit around and say, we can only do one public service announcement. What should it be? Well, I'll tell you what it should be. People do not know where their children are. And we're not even going to ask them to think about it until 10 p.m. What? Things have changed, haven't they? Oh, we know where they are, right? Well, apparently, Nancy Reagan thought she knew where they were, using drugs. So she skipped the parenting and said, kids, just say no. And all of a sudden, there was this feeling of, hey, we've lost control of kids and what they are doing. And so they developed this terribly ugly but useful thing called the minivan. We're like, okay, I'm going to keep up with them, but I don't want to sit too close to them in the car. I don't care if it looks like a wooden mailbox. I'm gonna get there. And we started signing them up for everything, started scheduling their lives. Some of you remember you'd have to catch a ride from basketball practice when you were a kid, right? You'd catch a ride and kids were figuring out their lives, and all of a sudden, no, we're going to figure out your life for you. We're going to schedule you. We're going to take you to all these places. And from there, started these things birthing like hover parents, and then lawnmower parents, and bulldozer parents, and now drone parents. You guys, I saw this article the other day and I couldn't believe it. Can you believe this? Can you microchip your child? Can you microchip your child? We go from, do you know where your children are? To, can we put a microchip in them? No wonder we're confused. And then in the middle of this, parenting books have continued. And there's this theme for a lot of people with animals. There's the tiger mom. There's the dolphin way. There is which is this one? This is the elephant handbook. I was going to write one called Sloth Parenting, but I never got around to it. That's a dad joke. What's that? Just a little slow. Yeah, it's a really slow book. It's one page. But and then we went, maybe animals are too complicated, and for some people they just did adjectives. There's the authoritative parent. There's the conscious parent, the mindful parent, the positive parent, the gentle parent, the attachment. I heard somebody go, attachment parent, free range parenting. I like this one. You just move to the farm and let them go. Some of you are going, that's exactly what our kids do. And then there became AI parenting. I think this is going to be the next thing, where we're just going to let artificial intelligence parent our kids. I'm going to give you a little example. Okay, Siri, I need you to ground. What's his name? Grayson. Here we go.
Based on his screen time and heart rate, Braden is already emotionally distant. Offer him eye contact and a hug instead.
Yeah, maybe that's it. That didn't work, so we'll know to check that off for next time. But it's the thing, maybe AI is going to help us do them. So we can be very confused with that. And then we're parenting kids that have phones that are constantly sending all these different messages. So that's confusing for them. It's confusing for us, and on their cyberbullying's happening, and they're not only can get bullied at school, they can get bullied on their phone, and then kids are seeing pornography. It gets really, really confusing. So it makes us confused, and then we have just the whole idea of like what we bring into ideas of what we want to do from parenting based on what our parents did. And we say, I want to do this like my parents. I don't want to do this like my parents. A lot of us are married, and our spouse says, well, there's some things that I want to do like my parents did, and there's some things I don't. And then sometimes there's blended families. Some of you are grandparents parenting kids, and that's like we bring our own views and thoughts into that, and that can be very confusing. But then in the middle of all that doubt and confusion, there's just these incredible moments with our kids, and there's laughter, and there's some things that you go, man, I'm so glad I didn't miss this, and they're incredible. Our second son, we never knew what was going to come out of the boy's mouth. And I was driving him to preschool one day, and I said, buddy, I've got a surprise for you tomorrow. I'm going to come into preschool, and I'm going to be the special reader. He takes a beat and he goes, Dad, they're going to make fun of you. Why? Because you don't have any hair on the top. And then the next day I go in to read, and he goes, very introverted kid goes to the whole class, this is my dad and he is bald. Let's just acknowledge it. I need you to know that I know that he looks like a freak of nature. And so it's like, they will say things like that, and then God knew that I needed a sweet little girl to say things, and she's still just as sweet as she can be. And I'd sing this little song. Her name's Teddy. My name's Ted. It's pretty adorable, I know. And I would sing. I'd say, Teddy bird, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you. And we go to Disney, and she goes, look, Daddy, it's you. Oh, yeah. God knew my heart needed to be healed from all the pain for my sons. Right? And they're just precious, and they do all this. And again, we'll come back to this as we all love our kids. But don't we have moments of doubt if we're doing it well enough? And they come into this world away, and they can just be so different from each other, can't they? How many of you have multiple kids? Keep your hand up if they're very different. You're like, what? How did this happen? And we can go, maybe I should do it this way. Well, maybe I should do it like my parents. Well, maybe I should do it like this book. Maybe I should do it like this book. Maybe I should do it like this. And we doubt. And there's this verse from James, and I think it's so clarifies and it paints this picture that I think a lot of parents can feel, and it's this. Talks about doubt. It says, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. Can't we doubt as parents? And we feel tossed, and we feel insecure, and we feel unsure. And it's coming from a good spot. It's coming from a good place. We want to be great parents, and sometimes we just don't know how. And we start to struggle, and we start to doubt. And here's the problem with that, is inconsistent thoughts lead to inconsistent parenting. They don't know who's showing up. And if there's any, I can do this. I can go from like, okay, I host a dad's podcast called the All Pro Dad Podcast. And when they first came out with the name, I was like, can we please call it Average Dad That's Trying Really Hard? I just didn't like the name because we don't have it figured all out. Me and my co-host, we don't pretend to have it all figured out. But in the middle of studying all this, I think we can become so confused. And then I will bring some of these learnings to my kids. And sometimes I'm so patient and I'm so kind. I'm such a good listener. I'm so empathetic. And then the next time, what are you doing? You're driving me crazy. You ever been there? You feel like you swing from side to side and you go, I don't want to be that. But that's that doubt that's being tossed back and forth. And it can make us inconsistent. And our kids are going, who's coming home today? Right? And it's confusing and disorienting for us, more importantly, the kids. So how do we anchor in this doubt? Wouldn't you just like to feel like, I just want to feel secure. I don't want to bounce around everywhere. I need to be anchored in. Well, the great thing about this is the verses right before this show us how to do this and talk about it. James, the brother of Jesus, said, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. You want to feel anchored in? He said, you come to God, you ask him for wisdom, and he's not going to go, well, you should have come here a long time ago. He's not going to find fault. He said, and he will give it to you, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. Do you feel like you'd like to be anchored in? I know I would like to feel anchored in. So how do we do that? How can we anchor into some truths that aren't going to change with every book? That it's not going to be next year, it's not going to be different. God's word does not change based on what's going on with our kids. It does not change based on what the newest book is. It doesn't change. And he gives us some very intentional ways to love each other relationally. And when I first started this content, I wrote it for married couples. How many of you guys were at the Marriage for Life conference this year? So this is going to be familiar to some of you. And when I first wrote it, the first time I ever presented it, we get in the car and Nancy goes, this is not just marriage. This is parenting. And we have found it to be true. So if you were at the conference, you're going to be a little bit of the head of the game on this. But what I want to do is I want to give you 5 intentional thoughts. And they're really quick. And again, if you're at the marriage thing, you're going to know them. I want to give you 5 intentional thoughts to anchor you in and to anchor me in. And they're not going to change, and they're not going to change regardless of how your kid's wired. They're not going to change regardless of the situation. They are what they are, and they're powerful. And the great news is I didn't make them up. So let's just start with that. Because intentional thoughts lead to responses versus reactions is why this is so powerful. And better reactions lead to better parenting, right? So we're not just reacting. I don't know if you guys have ever reacted before. Anybody here reacted to their kids? Not at all? Good. Maybe you can help me afterwards. This is good. The first thought I want to give you in this session is this. It starts with a question, is what do I think about my kid? And that intentional thought, when it comes to thinking about your kid, is see the best. See the best in your kid. Now let me ask you, who was the person in your life when you were growing up that saw the best in you? Somebody shout it out. Who is that? Grandparents. Who else? What's that? Coaches. And they would see the best in you, and they would think, my own grandparents, and I talked about it this morning. They would just see the best in me. And let me ask you this. Aren't you drawn towards that coach? Weren't you drawn toward those grandparents? Like children are drawn to people who see the best in them. They're drawn, and there's more influence when we see they're drawn to us. We have more influence with them. But the tension that I think a lot of us can feel is our automatic thoughts about our kids aren't automatically good ones, right? And here's why: is our brains are wired to look for problems. Because we love our kids so much and because we are so responsible for them, our brains are wired to kind of look what's going on with them all the time. We're constantly lifeguarding their life as parents, and our brain is looking for the problem. We've got to stop this. We got to make sure they're okay. We got to make sure they're not going to do this wrong. Well, what if they get into this? And another reason that we can not see the best in our kids, or that can be a struggle, is because our kids are wired like us. How many of you would say, I've got a kid that's wired a lot like me? Keep that hand up if this is the kid you struggle with the most. It is, because we see things in our kids that we don't like about ourselves, that we haven't accepted about ourselves, that we, for whatever reason, can't change about ourselves, and we think, well, we can't change it about us, but I'm going to change it in you, right? And we do that. That's my daughter and I. She is, again, Ted and Teddy. Nancy calls us the Teds. And the great news is we're a lot alike. The terrible news is we're a lot alike. This girl, she loves Jesus. She wants to change the world, and she doesn't want to miss anything. If you look up FOMO in the dictionary, you will see my daughter's photo, because she does not want to miss anything. She signs up for everything, and she wants to make an A+++ in every class, and then she gets overwhelmed emotionally, and then she brings you all that emotion. This is yours to deal with. I'm always like, well, you signed up for all this, sweetheart. I mean, you did all this. Like, you brought all this. And Nancy's looking at me like, who else does that? She's very sweet about it, but it's very, very true. So we learn, it's hard for us to see the best because they're a lot like us. Sometimes it's hard to see the best because they're unlike us. We're going, did you know when I was your age that I could do X, Y, Z? We've got one son who, mister, they're going to make fun of you because you got no hell on top. This is he will not get in a hurry for any reason, for any purpose, at any time. It does not matter what's going on. When his little sister would get hurt when he was little, he'd walk in and go, red alert, red alert. What's wrong? Teddy's got her head stuck in the door. He's just different. We say he's okay with leaving potential on the table. The boy just graduated college, and you need to clap because you don't know what a miracle that is, friends. Oh yeah, you should. And here's the other thing. They're so different, and we don't understand. And so we're not seeing the best in them. All we're seeing is the things that we think that they need to be doing, right? So we're not looking for it. And our kids, this can make it hard for us to see the best. They live in a different world, and they speak a different language. I mean, it feels like the vernacular, the things they are saying changes every 5 minutes. I don't know what's coming out of their mouth half the time. My son sounds like a rapper half the time. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're trying to communicate to me. He just graduated with college, like I said, and we kept talking to him about going, where do you want to go to dinner after graduation? Where do you want to go? I don't know. The day of, I was like, buddy, you got to tell us where we're going. He goes, I don't know. I'll check my vibe then. This man is about to start doing job interviews, friends. So what does that look like? Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? I don't know. I'll check my vibe then. That can't go okay, right? But they're just so different. And then what our brain tries to do, because it thinks in pattern, we will put labels on our kids about who they are, because we're trying to make sense of who they are. So we say, you're the shy one, you're the extroverted one, you're the introverted one, you're the hard one, you're the easy one, you're the sweet one. And we put those labels on them, and here's the problem. This is called confirmation bias. And I'm going to skip the fancy definition and go straight to this one. It's confirmation bias just means you find what you're looking for. If you say your kid's lazy, your brain is only going to see times when they're lazy. If you say they're frustrating, your brain only sees time that they're frustrated. And it's so dangerous when we start labeling our kids. We don't want to be labeled, but it's so easy for us to do it because it sorts out and it starts to make sense of a world called parenting, and it doesn't make sense a lot of times, does it? But back to this, is we all love our kids, and I think that's the number one reason that we don't see the best in them. It's because we love them so much, we want to protect them. We know how responsible we are. Nancy and I had this terrible filter that somebody taught us. I don't have a clue who it was. And it was, what does this behavior look like at 16? You know, you start looking at it when they're little. What happens when you eat too much Halloween candy? What does that look like at 16? Well, that looks like stealing cars and knocking off liquor stores. That's what that looks like. You know, you go, what does this look like? It was a terrible filter. I want to give you a better filter. I want to give you a filter that Paul gives us in Philippians. At the end of Philippians, he said, let me give you a filter for how you think. Because our thoughts are so important, because they're not our actions, and our thoughts are not our attitudes, but they lead to both. So he gives us this incredible filter of how he wants us to think and how we should think. He says, 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true. Whatever is true. Truth is a great filter for our kids. Truth is a great protector of our kids. Whatever's true. Because sometimes true is they're making terrible decisions. What else is true is we've got to do something about this. What else is true is we've got to set a boundary here. Whatever is true, and there's so much truth. And what we're doing with confirmation bias and what we're doing when we're looking for problems is we are trying to see the truth of what's going on with our kids, because we don't want to live with rose-colored glasses, right? We want to look at what's true. But what's also true is we love them. And what's also true is God has wired them and created them in such a way. I wish somebody had told me that God was sending our kids, as our friend says, fully baked into the world. They just come out a way, right? They just come out so differently. We've been traveling for a long time, and we would bring our first son, who's very extroverted, and I would come out, and he was, 18 months, 2 years old, and I'd set him up on my knee, and he'd look like this, and I would take his arms and do, why don't you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down. And he's just looking like he's doing it. It was incredible. And then his brother, when he was that age, I come set his brother on my lap, and the whole time he's going, argh. The whole time. They come into this world just wired differently. That's what it's true. But then when we start putting them through this filter of the rest of things, the filter of see the best, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. How do you see the best in your kids? You start looking for what's true and what's great and what's noble, and we sit that, and that becomes our filter. Some of you, this feels like, is this a dangerous way? Is this just rose-colored glasses? Excuse me. Let me tell you what seeing the best is not. It's not living in denial, which is the thing we're most afraid of. It's not avoiding hard conversations. It's not fighting their battles for them. It's not ignoring discipline. Here's what it is. It's understanding who they are. For us to see the best in who they are, we've got to understand who they are. It's being loud with affirmation, and it's speaking positively to them, around them, and about them. This is so key, because when we start having conversations with each other, how many of you guys have been taking a walk with your spouse and you just get fired up and the other one's getting fired up with you? I can't believe he did this. I can't believe this is unbelievable. What does this look like at 16? Right? And you start talking this up, or you're sharing it with friends. You want to be transparent, but it gets too fueled, and then your brain starts believing it and starts cementing this in this. We got to remember it at the end of this, who they are and whose they are. You go, what's great about Judson, who just graduated college? He's the most present kid you've ever seen. He's by far the funniest of all of our kids. He's listening way better than anybody at the table. He'll never fight to be heard, but he will always hear everybody else. That's what's great about him. I love being around him so much, but if I focused on just the negative him, it would be so detrimental to our relationship and ultimately my influence. Some of you going, well, we're going through a really hard time. What if my kid isn't very Philippians-y? They all get those seasons, don't they? You're going, I'm just not seeing the Philippians-y in them. He says, if anything. For some of you, the only reason you came here tonight is you go, I got to shake off how negative I've been about my kid, and I got to remember that they're a precious child of God. I got to see the best in them. It's so important that we see the best in them. So what would happen if you started filling in these blanks? What if you started listing this and remembering this and being loud about this? One of the things I love to do with the kids is somebody comes up and say, Chapman, have you told him about teaching? He teaches school now. He's 7th grade. Hey, tell him about the kids in your class. Or talking about loud, and depending on how your kid's wired. If I were to say in front of my introverted son, in front of a huge group, of how great he was, he would be mad at me. But if I pull him to the side, that's where he hears information. And this is where we get loud and we see the best. And the bottom line of this whole thing, for us to be the best, we got to see their best. Because it creates influence when we see the best, because they're drawn towards people who see the best. I mean, at the end of the day, don't you want your kids to be able to say, my dad didn't get it all right, and my mom didn't get everything right, but they always saw the best in me. They liked me. They liked who created me to be. And the greater the connection that comes from this, the greater the influence. As we see the best, they stay drawn to us, and as they're drawn to us, they listen to us more. But if we do not see the best in us, they're repelled, and they will go to any group that does see the best in them. They are searching, they are craving acceptance. Weren't we craving acceptance as kids too? Didn't we gravitate toward those people? They are as well. And what's the payoff of Philippians 4:8? I think not only does it draw them to us, it creates a peace in us. Because Paul says, as we live this out, as you put this into practice, the God of peace will be with you. Parenting does not feel peaceful all the time, does it? When I think about parenting, peace is not the first thing that pops into my head. It feels like anything but that. But we're talking about it brings a peace in you and a peace in me. And the hope of this is the more peace in you equals more love through you. Does this make sense? Because aren't we the best parents when we are calm and we're at peace? And this first verse started with just this chaos of doubt. And he's going, let me anchor you in. The opposite of chaos and being tossed is peace. And you can't make them be anybody you want them to be. We can't morph them. We can't change them. But we can change ourselves to anchor in with peace. And where this comes from our kids, is how we see our kids, and that is to see the best. Everybody say, see the best. All right. We're going to do these like mini episodes, Bo. Is that good? We're going to see the best. The second thought starts by asking this question. What do you think about your kids' emotions? What do you think about your emotions? Because the tension we can all feel is sometimes your kids emotions don't make sense to you. Is that fair? How many of you have got preschoolers? You're just in Target, right? You've got everybody a snack, everybody's, hanging out, everything's great, and all of a sudden there's a total meltdown at Target. And you want to go, you don't know how lucky you got it. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to wipe your own bum. Are you kidding? I wish I were you. I'm going to throw a tantrum. Let you figure it out. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, what is going on with you? Or then one kid will be like, hey, I forgot. I got a project tomorrow. What do you mean you got a project tomorrow? Yeah, I got to build a solar system. Next thing you know, you're like building a solar system out of like Rice Krispies and Rage. You know, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't make sense to me. And the one that would always push my buttons is, man, slam the door. This is when I turn into my daddy from Alabama. Boy, I'm about to slam you in a minute. That was my dad's play on everything. Anything I would do that he didn't like, he would always do this. I'd be like, hey, Dad, can we get a cheeseburger? He'd go, I'm going to cheeseburger you in a minute. Which is a child. It's frightening. What does it look like to be cheeseburgered? But I get it. Sometimes their emotions don't make sense to us, and it's frustrating. We don't know what to do. But when they have those emotions, as much as possible, our posture toward them is this. Everybody say, choose empathy. Ooh, this one's tough, right? It is to choose empathy. I will tell you that this word did not come into my parenting and even as a husband until way late in the game. Because I would study marriage a lot, and I'd see the word empathy, and I, for some reason, would go straight by it. And I think it's because I'm just not good at it. And the word empathy feels a little squishy to me. And then you find out that empathy is super glue for relationships. So when our kids' emotions don't make sense, we say we choose empathy. I had to look up the definition. So if some of you are struggling with it, let me just give it to you. It's the capacity to identify and share in someone else's emotions. It's the ability to identify and share in someone else's emotions, that we're with them. And I love this verse from Romans. I just think it's empathy personified. I think it's empathy with so much application. The word with there, you think about it, your kids are with you a lot, right? Especially if you've got littles. And they're with us even when they're not with us, aren't they? They're always with us. They do not outgrow that. We are so connected to who they are. And I think God is wired that they're with us. And when in the middle of all their emotions, the first word there is rejoice with those who rejoice. You guys, life can get so serious that we forget the joy part of parenting. And we're like, get in the minivan. We got to go to baseball practice. Hurry up. We got to go take you to baseball because baseball's going to make you well-rounded. Right? We forget to rejoice. We forget to delight when they delight. And so one of the things that you can do to rejoice with your kids is just to be present. What does it look like when you see them? What look do you have on your face when you see them at the end of the day? Do you light up when you see them, even on days when they're not very delightable? Right? Do you light up? And this is what he's saying. Rejoice with those rejoice. When kids can be so full of joy. In other words, this is very complicated. Don't be a killjoy. Don't kill their joy. There's sometimes we got to kill their joy. But we don't want to kill the joy, this life in them, this kid part of them that's so great. Nancy and I, we've been watching American Idol since it first came out. And how many of you seen those parents that would tell their kids they could sing and they could not sing? Well, Nancy's a coach's daughter, and she said, we're never going to be American Idol parents. We're never going to lie to them like that. And so our daughter, what grade was she in? 2nd grade. She comes in with her baton. Is it baton or baton? Baton. She comes in with her baton. And she says, I'm going to be in the talent show. And we're like, I'm not sure that's got good. It's going to be American Idol if we let her do this. I don't know. This is not a good idea. You know, what could happen? You know how you do as a parent. What's this going to look like 16 when she remembers how she was berated by a whole audience of people at the talent show? And so we have some friends that are about 10 years down the road, and we're sitting there and we're sharing it with her, because that was the big issue of 2nd grade. And she said, you let that girl twirl her heart out. And so here it got a little clip.
Oh, she got it.
Yeah. What if we'd have taken that from her? You hear me in the background going, she nailed it. Right? Which was the idea, I guess, of the whole thing. I mean, we have enjoyed that joy for years. She did that for Nancy at Mother's Day like 2 years ago. And she's 20. It's so good. We gotta keep laughing. We gotta keep enjoying with them. It goes so fast. I used to hate when people say that, but it does. It goes so fast. We gotta rejoice when they rejoice. We gotta smile with them. The other thing too, and this was the thing I got really late to the game on, because I'm kind of a fun dad. I've always been a fun dad. I'll laugh with them. This was the tough part. It's cry with those who cry. You know, when they had something going on, I wanted to fix it. I can fix this. You know, if they're having trouble with friends, well, here's what you need to do. Maybe you're not picking the right friend. I tell you what, or this is how you talk to this friend or whatever. And all my girls especially, they were just, you know, they'd be all up in an emotion. I'm like, no. We don't have to be sad about things. Just take a breath and let me fix it. Turns out girls don't like that. They don't like that at all. Like our daughter was talking about how one day how her friend was so mean to her. The next morning I said, what are you doing this afternoon? She tells me she's going to go spend time with this friend that she told me yesterday had been mean to her. And I went, well, and Nancy looks at me and goes, but, okay, have a good time. Doesn't make sense. But when they are upset that we want to be in this emotion with this empathy is so important. Our oldest daughter, she started having panic attacks about 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't. You know, we talk about panic attacks now. I didn't know what was happening. She's always been dramatic, so it looked like a 15-year-old throwing a tantrum, 14, 15-year-old. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? I didn't know what this was. And so we talked to a friend of ours who's a counselor and I said, should I just let her figure it out? He goes, no, it's all about empathy. He goes, what did you do when she was little to calm her? And I said, well, we would sing and dance or whatever. He goes, when she's having a panic attack, she needs empathy. And you just do that. You just sing with her. He goes, you cannot treat her too much like a child when she's having a panic attack. So she's on her bed and she's having this thing and it is dramatic. And I just laid over there and just pressed my shoulder into hers and started singing Don't Worry About a Thing by Bob Marley. Not super spiritual pastor, but that's all I had. It's coming off the hip. And I just started breathing with her. And before I had told that child in the middle of a panic attack she should go for a run. Her heart was beating out of her chest. I'm like, well, you just need to go for a run. You know, that'll get it out of you. And all she needed was empathy. Does that make sense? It's just so powerful. And some of you going, but what advice? Don't our kids need our advice? Yes, but the time and the place is not when they're in the middle of emotion. They can't hear it. Not when they're excited, they can't hear it. Not when they're sad, they can't hear it. Wait until there's some space to talk to them about it. And the great news for all of us as we feel this pressure of parenting is our kids are not a problem to be solved. They're a person to be loved. And you guys are already there. We love our kids, right? We love them. And this is our number one goal. So intentional thought number 2 is to choose empathy. Everybody say choose empathy. Everybody say see the best. Everybody say choose empathy. I'm going to give you some really quick application to help you to choose empathy. Number 1 is I see you. This is so powerful, guys. Maybe this is the only reason you came is, everybody's on their phones these days. Eye contact is so powerful. If you're struggling with having empathy with your kid, what research shows is eye contact with your kids creates empathy in your brain for them. So you look at their face, you're there. If they're excited, you mimic the look on their face, not mock. You mimic it, and it's called mirroring neurons, and all of a sudden it starts to soothe that part when they're sad. When you were excited with them, they're like, oh, Mom and Dad, they listened. They were there. I see you. And sometimes empathy just stops there. That's all they need. That's it. It's to pay attention when they're excited and pay attention when they're sad. Another thing is, I get it. I get you. This is when you give them the topic and the emotion, or the emotion and the topic. I can tell you are so frustrated with your brother. I can tell you are so excited about getting on the baseball team. We just acknowledge the emotion and the topic. Doesn't mean we agree with it. Doesn't mean we're going to let them do whatever it is they want to do, but they need to know that we know what emotion they're talking about. And a lot of times that is very soothing. That's why a lot of times kids will ratchet up because you don't understand. No, I fully understand, son, that you want to go. And if I were you, again, empathy, in their shoes, I'd want to go too. But we can't. But they need to know that we know, I got you. And these next two words will communicate so much to them when it comes to letting them know, I got you. And these two words, that's understandable. Everybody say that's understandable. Our daughter, one morning, we counted, I think we said it like 10 times to her before she was leaving. She was all upset. Well, that's understandable. There wasn't anything about it understandable. We lied in the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying. We didn't do it. But we just say, hey, that's understandable. And we validate that, saying, hey, you're so frustrated, and that's understandable. If I were your age, I'd probably feel the same way. That's understandable. Everybody say that's understandable. It's so much easier than trying to talk them out of their emotions. That's the thing with all this. Talking a kid out of their emotions, how's that working for you? It doesn't work for me. And the third part of this, sometimes we take it to the final step, which is I got you. This is when we let them know I got your back. No, we don't fight all their battles, but at the end of the day, don't we want them to be able to say, my mom and dad, they always have my back. Again, we're not hovering, we're not fixing, we're not bulldozing, but we're letting them know I got your back. When I was in high school, I got expelled for 4 days of school for something that I didn't do. Normally, I would have done it, but this time, I hadn't done it. And my dad knew I hadn't done it. And the principal would not listen to me, and he was rough on me. I kept saying, I didn't do this. And my dad, Alabama, looks at me and he goes, son, do you want me to go up there to the school and wipe the halls with that principal's butt? I've never felt more loved in my entire life. And of course, I said no, because it would make it worse. But it was this moment, I knew that he had my back. I looked for an example of when he had my back, and that was the only thing I could come up with. No, that's not true. He's gentle, loving. But that was the thing. Do you have their back? And that's a huge part of empathy. So here's a couple of questions when you can ask your kid. Talk on a regular basis, maybe once a week during dinner. You ask them, hey, I see you. What's one thing you need me to celebrate? And we're always looking for things to talk about at dinner, right? What makes it special? How can we celebrate? And they're going to say, take me to Disney. So you're going to have just expectations. But we talk about that. The other thing is the low. Hey, buddy, what's one thing that's bothering you? What makes it tough? How can I let you know I have your back? For years, we would do it this complicated, but we'd say, tell me your high and your low at dinner. And they did it for years, and they were giving us so much intel and had no idea that they were. But we learned so much about what's going on with them with high and low. And always with empathy, I think about just the miracle of Jesus in the moment when he wept with Mary after he shows up and he's 4 days too late. Her brother Lazarus has passed away, and Jesus knows he's about to raise him from the dead. And Mary sees him and says, "Where were you?" She's heartbroken, and he could have fixed this. I mean, he's about to fix this. He could have said, "Hey, everybody, wipe your eyes, because I'm about to fix this in royal fashion. It's going to be amazing. It's going to make the Bible. They're still going to be talking about it 2,000 years from now at a parenting conference. That's going to be great." Instead, it was this miracle. He just wept. And I just think it's just this model of hurting with our kids when they hurt and being tender with them during those times. So what's the payoff of empathy? What's the payoff of choosing empathy? It's empathy leads to connection. And isn't that what we want with our kids? This empathy, it leads to connection. Everybody say, see the best. Everybody said, choose empathy. Awesome. Mr. Bo, you want to come on up? Do I stay here, leave here? All right, stay back, seat right here.
What?
What? Right here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, here.
Yeah. Empathize. We're going to take a little break. It's not for you to get up and leave. We're not going to go anywhere. This is to give Ted a chance to get, water down a little bit and get his voice back. And we're going to have a little question and answer time right after here in a little bit. And so I encourage you right now, if you have that number, you want to send some questions as well. We'll look through them during this little break. But during this break, I just want to remind you that this coming Saturday, Marriage for Life registration opens up to the general public on November 1st. And that's really exciting. That's a lot of work that day, too. And so for those of you who don't understand what Marriage for Life is about here or at home, I want to show you this video of a story. I had a couple reach out to me and share their story of Marriage for Life, and it got me remembering kind of the heart of this, too, is there's power in an invitation. Not just going for yourself, but in bringing someone along. So I want you to take a few minutes here to watch this couple's story. I'm here with the Tandrich. Ha! I'm here at the Tandriches.
There you go. Tandriches.
It's so easy in my head, right? There's a really cool couple here I'm talking to that I can't quite pronounce their last name. But they're from Akron, and they reached out just a few weeks ago and told us about their Marriage for Life journey. So I thought I'd talk to them and share it with you all.
We have been married 3.5 years. The first 2 years were really rough. About a month before Marriage for Life, so last year around Christmas time, we separated. The members of our church and everybody, they really loved on us and encouraged us to get back together and try to work it out. I had moved back in, but we could not get along. We couldn't communicate. And so we were in the middle of this text war, sending these texts back and forth. And we were just like throwing fire at each other, honestly. And a friend of mine sends a text that comes through and says, hey, I have a friend who is part of this Marriage for Life thing. It's this weekend, and I can get you free tickets. Are you doing anything? I was like, okay, God, I hear you. Okay. So I took a break from what I thought I was going to send, and I sent a screenshot to him, and I was like, I really think God's telling us to shut up right now. So that was on a Wednesday. Got tickets to go Friday. It was pretty quiet in our house Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, I got home from work, packed up the suitcases and stuff, and had him in the living room, and I really had no idea if he was going to go.
I was frustrated. I came home that Friday. She had the bags packed. But I knew I had to go. I grabbed the suitcases, threw them in there.
Threw them?
Totally.
You threw them?
I threw them into the trunk.
Me to be going
into the trunk. So we drive down to complete silence, was it? Didn't speak a word, didn't say nothing. And then when we got there, the first question they asked.
How many people fought on the way here?
And I was the first one to stand up. We did. I wasn't expecting that question. So I got to see where this is going.
He was the first one to pull out a pen and start actually taking notes Friday night. And we still haven't spoke to each other. So I was like, wow, he's really taking this seriously. So I should probably get my head out of my own, and start taking notes. About an hour in, he looked at me and said, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. And so I was like, okay, and I think we were both quietly praying, okay, God, what are we supposed to do here? We were desperate. We were completely desperate and exhausted. Something had to give.
Something had to give.
And
that something was ourselves. Here we are now, trying to get 100 people to go to these concerts.
Wait, we don't have that much room, man.
If I had the money, I would. So I have this buddy, really heart-struck guy, Hunter, been in the military, but I love him to death. We love his marriage. And I came and told, before my wife even told his wife, I was like, hey, bud, we're going to invite you somewhere. It's going to be to a marriage conference. And he just gave me this look, is this what men talk about? And I'm like, yeah, this is men talking. This is how much I love you. And he's like, does Brenda know? I'm like, they don't know anything yet.
So it was just so amazing the way God used Michelle to give us that opportunity.
I thank the Tandriches for sharing that story with me and being very vulnerable about the Marriage for Life experience. And you can just see how when your life is changed, it affects others. So let people into it. When Marriage for Life registrations opens up this Saturday at 6 a.m., they always sell fast. So when I say, I have heads here nodding, when we say get online at 6 a.m., get online. Don't be frustrated. There's 6 conferences, identical conferences in Holmes County, and a 7th identical conference up in Cleveland at the Embassy Suites just off of Rockside Road. So there's 2,050 rooms. We know that may not be enough. So we're in conversations of how to accommodate even more this year and possibly next year. So being praying about that. Dave and Ashley Willis will be the ones that are joining us this year. They were here several years ago, and they got a fantastic story. They share a lot of very authentic experiences that they go through to let you in and know that your marriage probably isn't as bad as you think it is. You're not the only one going through stuff. So we're thrilled to have them back, and they're excited to come back and join us here in a few months. So, with that said, Ted, Nancy, come on up here. We're going to have a little question and answer time with Ted and Nancy, and we're going to invite, by the way, this is Nancy. All right, Nancy, yeah. She's the real reason you came. I know. So, I have a few questions that we're going to give to them, and we'll have even some more stuff, and man, my brain's been spinning, and my wife hasn't had to grab my leg and say, this is something you need, because I think I'm nodding at the right times because stuff you're hitting is. So let me start. Let me give you a little icebreaker question that someone gave here. You had a lot of books up there about animal parenting. Yeah. Okay, what animal best describes your parenting styles?
Ooh, that's good. We always we need an opposite kind of. What is it? Would be an opposite.
Oh, you think we're opposite?
Well, we've always said, in a positive way, we are grace and truth, but in a non-way, it's denial and critical. In terms of, but he is the fun. So whatever the fun is, and I'm the keeper of the details. Yeah, the steady in the details.
So you're the fun. Yeah. You'd be the monkey.
Yeah, I'm the monkey, and she's the golden retriever.
Oh. That's pretty good. That got deep fast.
Oh, okay.
Give your next book.
No.
Oh, no. You love to write. Hey, here we go. Got one. So you talked about tough love. Don't avoid tough love. What do you consider tough love?
I think any consequence that they don't love is going to feel tough to them.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think this is going to be a tough consequence. I think the love part comes in it, that we remain calm in the middle of that chaos. The tough part is they're not going to like it, and it's going to be hard maybe to figure it out. And then the love part is just staying calm in the chaos. What do you think?
I don't even think it's just consequences. I think it's just giving them an answer they don't want to hear is tough love. To go, I know you're not going to want to hear this. You're thinking it in your head, but this is the right thing.
So let me point out, this is conversations that I know Nicole and I've had. So my guess is you weren't always on the same page as far as tough love with your kids. One of us, I won't say who, tend to be more of the monkey, and one of us tend to be the golden retriever. And the golden retriever, don't stop looking at her. And the golden retriever got mad at the monkey because. Do you like where this is going?
Because the monkey was making promises he couldn't keep.
Or the monkey just wanted to have fun, and some rules were broken, and the monkey. Okay, I end up. Let's just put names to it. I was the monkey, just to be clear. Okay, I was the one who was always good cop, and she got tired of being the one who had to always. Why do I always have to be the bad parent, the mean parent?
Fair.
So. How do you first identify it as a couple? How do you swallow that as the fun parent who doesn't like conflict or confrontation but realizes you have to be a team? How do you approach that? How do you tweak that?
I will say this might be one of the things we did right, because I can remember when the oldest was in high school and he looked at me and he said, I know that you agree with me, but you just have to say you don't because you have to be on the same side as Dad. And I thought, well, good. He thinks, regardless, we're going to be, because if any kids have been talked about behind closed doors and discussed and prayed over, and, it's hours, and to then walk out and go, okay, I mean, because I've had to just go, okay, sometimes.
And I've had to
go,
yeah.
okay, whatever,
Okay.
if this is what you think. But just that united front is huge.
I like what you said about sometimes those conversations are best done behind closed doors.
Yes.
Sometimes we feel like the confrontation has to happen at the moment of the violation when one parent's there, maybe the other parent's not there, or you're not on the same page. I mean, there is value in saying, we're going to come back to this. Your mom and I, your dad and I, we need to talk about this first.
Yeah.
And I think that there's value in that. They see that on the front side, but there is value in being on the same page, even if you are the monkey or the golden retriever. There's something to be. That's good stuff. Grandparents here, and you have a grandparent who sees the best in the grandkids. I came up that right, grandparent, but I have a kid who is a parent and doesn't see the best in their kid, and I see it. But they just nag this kid and beat this kid down. How do I help my child see the best that I see in their child? Do you follow that? Mm-hmm. Grandpa sees best in kid. Parent does not see best in kid. How do I help my child see the best in their child?
It feels like it might be one of those things as a parent to the parent that you cash in some credits with that to go, in the long run, this is going to change how you talk and see your child. It's worth it to say, hey, you seem pretty harsh, or you're pretty critical of Chapman. I don't think that's true about them. Yeah, just to even shine some light, because you may not even realize you're doing
That
it.
assumes you have credit. It assumes you're not a parent.
That's true. I didn't think about
Well,
that.
it assumes that you haven't been nagging your child. And my parents are sitting here. This is not an implication of their story I'm telling at all. It assumes that you haven't been nagging your child into this one more thing on deaf ears.
Right.
So let's say you are that parent, and I don't have any capital. What can I do?
Now you answer.
So I just want to you're saying a grandparent sees the best in the grandkid, the parent does. So who are we asking the question about?
Grandparent. What do I do as a grandparent to help my child see the best in my grandchild?
Yeah. I think it's so difficult, raising adult kids. We're in that range. And you just go, there's a great book by Jim Burns called, Doing Life for Your Adult Children. And I think it's Keep Your Mouth Shut.
Great book.
The Welcome Out. And so I think a lot of that, I think the biggest role in this is continue to see the best in this kid, because this is the parent. If you do have the window to say that, we've got to phrase that. I don't even know where we got it. Our friend, it's like Doug Fields, who's been like a mentor to us. He says, ask for permission. If I had some thoughts about that, would you want to hear it? And so asking for, and if they go no, and then I would just go in with grace, going, hey, I know it is easy for me to say, but I think just you continuing to see the best, and making sure not to vilify the parent either.
Well, that kind of stirred something. Maybe part of the struggle is you got to see the best in your child, because now you're thinking that they're not doing a very good job parenting. Right. How do I get to a place where I can earn those credits and validate what they are doing good when it drives them? All it does drives me crazy how they look at this one kid that they're wired just like, and they just keep beating down constantly. Yeah. Well, let's put a pin in that, 'cause that was good stuff. We're gonna get going here real quick. So thank you for sharing. We'll bring you back up. Just keep that mic with you. Keep it with you. If you could help me out when those of you who are sitting at home right now, and I've been talking to my team, like, how do I ask this in a way that you know my heart on this? We're trying to see if this parenting thing that we've been doing now maybe 7 years. Okay. You talked about words and stuff. I got the kids here at my church calling me Pastor Skibbity Riz. Don't know what it means.
You got the Riz.
Because I got the Riz. Yeah, I'm aura farming.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Okay. okay, I lost it there. No, but for several years, and we want to know, is this something that's really hitting? Because it's an investment for us, and we love it. We get something out all the time. We're trying to grow this thing. So for those of you at our home who are watching it with more than one person, we know there's some churches watching and some small groups watching. If you could just text us to that number. It's the Marriage for Life number, again, if you forgot it. This is not us trying to validate who we are. Please understand our hearts. Thanks for throwing that up there. Appreciate that. Tell us how many people are watching it with you. Just one person from all the sites that's watching it. If it's just you, we see that you're watching. We just see you. We know that at least one person. But if you have multiple people, let us know. We want to see how this reach is working to make sure we're hitting you at the right place as far as meeting your needs. All right? Make sense? I'm looking at you. You don't do anything. You're going to talk now. So
awesome.
why don't you take this home, and when he finishes this next part, his next 3, because you got 2 points, you got 3 more to go, Nancy and I are going to come back on stage, and we're going to have some more questions. So if you have questions as we're going, keep sending them. Ted, awesome. You've been hitting it out of the park so far. Well done.
Let's ride the ride. I love it. All right. Good stuff. Where are you looking at people, Bo? Is there a camera right there? Good to see you guys. Oh, yes, right there. Awesome. Going to keep talking to you guys. Here we go. All right. All right. Everybody say, what's the first one? See the best. See the best. All right. What's the second one? You guys are sharper than most people. Here we go. And number 3 is going to be, this is important. They're all important. This one's important, though. Remember who you are. And this is something we talked a lot about at the Marriage for Life conference, about remembering who you are, because here is the tension that a lot of us, if not all of us, wrestle with. And the tension is this: what you and your child automatically think about yourselves isn't always good. What you think about you is not always good. What your kid thinks about them, it's not always good. And if I've learned one thing, especially the day and age we're living in now with our kids, is we have to keep a close look on what they are saying to them about them. Everybody, to some degree or the other, has an inner critic that's saying things, and we live like what they're saying is true. I've given my inner critic a name. It's called Fred. Fred, my bald head. And we all have a Fred to some degree. Some people struggle with their Fred more than others. But our kids have an inner critic. We're going to call him Fred. Some of you going, wait, whoa. Is Fred the devil? He's at least a highly compensated employee. So we're going to leave it at that, okay, friends? But there's this inner critic. There's this voice that says something. There's this Fred in their head. And with our kids, not to harp on this, but let's harp on this for a little bit. Fred lives here. Fred lives here. Research shows that our brains are wired to live locally, and our kids, and we are as well, living globally. Kids are comparing what they know about themselves with what they don't know about somebody across the world that's been photoshopped. And it is this constant comparison game, and they lose every single time. And what Fred does, I think he stands right next to this phone and goes, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not handsome enough. At the end of the day, you are not enough. And they stay there, and they're inundated with it. We're inundated with it. And Fred sits there and he lies to us, and we live like what he's saying is true. And here's the most dangerous part of Fred: he blocks out the voice of God. And we start hearing, and our kids start hearing more from Fred than they do from God or even from us. And we've got to partner with them to help them to figure out what is it you're thinking about you, and giving them a filter. And there's a passage from Romans that I think paints perfectly this dilemma and this tension between Fred and what God's wanting to say to him. It says, the spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. And this spirit here, when it's translated, it translates into dominant frame of mind. That we want to know, and we want our kids to know, that we don't want their dominant frame of mind to be fear. And let's be honest, a lot of what they experience, a lot of what's running through their head, what Fred says to them is full of fear. Kids are so full of fear, and we don't know it. Fear of what? There's so many different things, right? There's fear of being wrong. There's, what if I don't get this right in front of people? You know, everybody's watching. There's the fear of being unloved or unwanted or worthless or disrespected or lacking purpose or not knowing or just the chaos of it all. They're walking around with a lot of fear in their head, and Fred loves it. He loves making them insecure. And what we get to do as parents is we first have to model what it's like to get Fred out of our own head. Because a lot of you in here are going, my Fred's still alive and well, and no better way to help them get Fred out of their head than get him out of our own, and it is the work of our lifetime. The great news is Scripture gives us another alternative, as it always does. But the Spirit, the Holy Spirit you receive, brought about your adoption to sonship, and by Him we cry, Abba, Father. To keep saying to our kids over and over, you are a child of God. You need to remember who you are. Who are you? You are God's kid. He adopted you. You're my kid, but at the end of the day, for eternity, you are His. Just say we need to help them remember who they are and to press out the lie that is Fred. And so how do we do that? What I've tried to do with adults, myself included, is when I wrote a book called Us and Mine, and this was about what do you think about yourself, was to go, how do we make this so practical to help kids and help ourselves get Fred out of our head? I'm going to give you a little exercise, and I don't love that word because it minimizes this thing, and I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to go, could that really make a difference? It seems too simple. That's the beauty of it, but I promise, and research is so clear that this will help you and it'll help your kid, okay? Get Fred out of your head. The first step is you got to give your negative thoughts a name. You got to give your negative thoughts a name. You can keep calling him Fred. He's a high-capacity leader. I'm sure he's open to franchising. You can call him Fred. You can call him whatever. But you give him a name, and here's why. It puts the thoughts over here coming from a different voice. It's not you. It's not God. And you're teaching them, okay, what's your Fred in your head? Saying to you. My daughter, she calls hers Freddie. Mine's Fred and Freddie. I'm like, what is your Freddie? What's your Freddie saying to you? So they get a name. And so and the other thing that does with kids is it brings some humor into it. And anytime we can do that, it's a win, right? Step number 2, and this is where it gets really powerful, is you write down what Fred is saying. Can I share? You know, Bo told me, you know, after the first Marriage for Life conference, he comes out and he's crying. He goes, oh my gosh, this is just speaking exactly to where I am. And he texts me later, he goes, I just keep writing. And I go, stop and let's allow God to come into it. But there's something happens that when we write this stuff down and we see it in concrete fashion, and it's not fly-by thoughts, it's concrete and it's sitting in front of you. Wow, this says that I'm an idiot and nobody likes me if I'm a kid. This says I'm never going to be okay. This says I'm never going to get into college. This says I'm not as good as my friends. This says nobody likes me. And all of a sudden, you've got there, right there before you, in clear fashion, concrete fashion, here's what it is that Fred is saying. And then we do this thing. It's going to sound a little odd, but it's so powerful. Is you start to say categorize those thoughts, because Fred has a lot of surgical precision. He has a lot of side hustles. And a lot of you will recognize this maybe in your own life. He's a fortune teller. Kids are saying, I'm never going to have any friends. They're looking forward, right? It says, mind reader. Did you know that 13-year-old girls can read minds? They come in and go, oh, I know what those kids think about me. They're all worried what kids are thinking about them. What they don't know is those kids are worried what people are thinking about them, right? What are they thinking about you? They're not. They're thinking about them. But Fred he starts saying they don't like you, and I can tell that they don't like you. It's an interpreter. He's a shamer. He's a labeler. You're so stupid. You're so fat. You're a terrible athlete. And he just keeps throwing those labels, and you can hear Fred coming out of the voice of your kid. I'm so stupid. And we have some kids that I think are more wired naturally to feel that way and to think that way. And we hear it from them, right? And Fred loves it. He's a blamer. This is when he tells our kids to blame everybody else. Well, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. The pessimist, everything's bad. The convincer, go ahead and do that thing that you know you shouldn't do. And the second it's over with, says, God's never going to forgive you for that. It's masterful. Always, never. Talked about that this morning. You're always going to be like this. You're never going to have a future. And you've seen these thoughts and you see how he's categorizing them. And here is where it gets powerful. And even if you just take them to step 4 is this. You write down, what would your Abba Father say to you? What's he going to say to you? And this is when we bring in God's word and you go, here's what he says to you. He says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Does this say fearfully and wonderfully made? No, that's who he says. You need to remember who you are. And again, they can remember who they are when we remember who we are. And we can love them. We talked about, not living in this tossed around, doubt. Nothing makes our kids, make them feel like we're more unsettled than when we don't remember who we are, because we're going all the place. We're dealing with our insecurities as we're trying to deal with their insecurities. And we need to lock in and remember who we are. We're God's kid. We're his. I heard him whisper to me one day, and I don't say this a lot. It's like, you will become more of a man in your world as you become more of a child in mine. It's like, lock in. You want to lock in. You want to be steady with him. Remember who you are, and then you can teach them. I want you to remember who you are. You're a son of God. You're a daughter of God. You are his kid. He's got you, and he's like, settle. Settle. God has you, sweetheart. God has you, buddy. When we remain calm and solid and steady, that we can't control them, but we can love them. Because that is where I mess up the most as a father, is when I try to control my kids. I'm going to control this situation. It's when I react like I don't want to react. When I start acting like I'm God, then I'm going to control them and I'm going to control the situation. That's when I'm the worst dad. But when I back up and go, you know what? I can't control you. You can make they can make all the choices they want. You can make the choices. You're going to have consequence, but at the end of the day, I can't control you, but I can love you. And the most important thing we can communicate to them is they need to remember who they are. This is so key, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's asking a kid, going, hey, let's talk about this. Let's process this a little bit and help them to remember who they are. What's our first intentional thought? What's number 2? What's this one we just did? Y'all better get fired up about this one now. Remember who you are. Here's another one, and you talked a little bit about this. Pause. This is another one that I think, oh my goodness, guys, if we could get this right. Pausing. It's not easy, is it? It is not easy. So let me ask you, what is that thing your kid does that triggers you? What do you mean thing? That's when I put things. Somebody shout it out. What's that thing your kid just pushes your button about? Screaming? Wait, we got screaming. What is it? Whining? What else we got? Everything. Everything. Tattletellers. What's that? Lazy. Oh, and they just trigger us. And can we keep this real? The tension is sometimes our automatic responses are not always the best one. Right? We're just not the best one. We respond in ways that we're not proud of, and I can't believe I just said that, and I can't believe I just did that to them. And we hurt them with our words, and we get frustrated, and they get more frustrated, and around we go. And here's I think the biggest issue with not pausing is part of this triggered response is so many parents only talk about important things in the middle of frustrating things. We only talk about them being late for curfew and why that's important when they've come in 15 minutes late. We only talk about how they should talk to their brother and sister when they're yelling at their brother and sister. We only talk about their grades when we get their report card. And we're in the middle. We only talk about how to act in Target when they are melting all over the floor of Target. You've got to stop. That's when we talk about these things. And they're in the emotional part of their brain. They're not thinking, you're the emotional part of your brain. You're trying to deal with this, and we're trying to teach out of this frustration and this not feeling calm and not feeling tossed by the wind. Nothing tosses us around more than being frustrated and wondering why in the world did you just do this, and you lock in and you anchor in from being tossed around like a wave. With a pause, everybody take a deep breath. Oh, I wish I had known what a few deep breaths could do for my parenting. A few deep breaths will calm your brain down more than you can ever know. I have never, ever, ever regretted a pause with my kids, but I have regretted so many times when I did not. I have ADHD, and part of that is impulse control. And it's part of this thing is blurting, and that does not sit great with the parent. And they push that button, and then I've said things, and Ted, what are you doing? Nancy and I talked this week. I gotten so frustrated with our youngest daughter. You know, you do this and you do this. Go down the laundry list. That's always helpful, right? You did this and this and this. And I told Nancy, I can't go talk to people about parenting. I'm a terrible parent. I'm awful. If they saw that video of that, they don't want to hear anything else I got to say. Which is probably true. But it's this moment I thought, you know what? All of that could have been avoided had I just paused. Our youngest daughter came to us when she was 9, and she had had a lot of trauma. Well, I lost my mom when I was 10, so you would think I would just be walking empathy. That everything that she did, I would just understand, just full of empathy. And for whatever reason, she pushes my buttons so badly, and she will do things that I'm like, I wasn't trained for this one. Like our friend told us, his counselor, she says, you guys think you can raise her like you've raised your other ones. You're adorable. It doesn't work like that. And I thought it would work like that. I said, well, she's going to respect my wife, is what I told the counselor. She goes, good luck with that. And I thought, you can't make a child respect somebody. You can have all the rules in the world you want to. At the end of the day, there's always an element of choice. And when I feel like I'm too much in control, I'm not. And she had done something, and I got so frustrated with her. And what she'll do is she'll go in her room, and then she'll just start monologuing. And I go listen. I want to hear what she's saying. We had some friends that they used to tell their kid to go tell it to the president. They put a poster of the president in their room. They'd be all, just go tell it to the president. And the kid would go walk in and monologue with the president. Well, she's up in her room talking to the president, and I'm listening to her. And what she is saying is, she goes, I want to go home. We are home. We're it. I want to go home. My reaction was so big, she didn't think one thing about her behavior. All she saw was my reaction. Some big guy, some guy bigger than her, stronger than her, with all the power and all the influence, acting like a child throwing a tantrum. I'm not proud of it, but I say it in a way of transparency. We got to learn how to pause. We got to learn how to pause. In James, once again, the brother of Jesus. How fun would it have been to be the brother of Jesus? My parents, they think he's something. Sorry, ADHD. That there it came, Bo. That goes out for you. But James, long before neuroscience and being triggered, he says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. In other words, listen up. And so for tonight, we're just going to lean into James. Hey, everybody, listen up. Everyone should be quick to what? When your kid's screaming, tattletaling, you go, tell me more. We don't do that, do we? We don't want to do it. Be quick to listen. And I think about this, thinking about believers being known for being people who listened well. And we push forward, and we want our kids to be able to say, they didn't always agree with me, but I did feel like my parents, I feel like they would listen to me. Quick to listen, slow to speak. This one isn't easy, is it? You know, it's slow to speak. Ooh, that one's tough, right? Ooh, that's tough. I've literally, people talk about biting your lip. Oh, yeah. You got to bite your lip, bite your tongue, whatever it takes. And then it's slow to become angry. Notice that word become. So let me ask you, what does anger look like on you? What does it look like? Are you loud? Are you sarcastic? Are you demonstrative? Are you passive aggressive? Are you distant? What are you? What does it look like? Don't let anger make you become the parent you don't want to be. We got to learn to pause. And I showed you guys this morning. I want to show you again. Next time you're triggered, don't talk, don't text, don't type. Allow the logical part of your brain to come back online. I learned this the hard way. Don't parent by text. 85% of communication is nonverbal. There's too much assumption there. Don't parent by text, especially when you're angry, because you just keep lighting it up, don't you? I do. Don't do it. Let our logical part of our brain come back online. Because here's the reality. I feel like our children, if they can do one thing well, they can apologize well because we've had to do it so much. But saying you're sorry is great. Not needing to is better. Saying you're sorry is great. Not needing to is better. To avoid regret and conflict, choose responses over reaction. And when I think about the natural way versus God's way with this whole pausing thing, you've got the natural order, which is, you're triggered and you react. God's way is you're triggered, pause, and you respond. This pause right here in the middle, right if you're triggered, is where relationships are built or broken. Right after we're triggered and before we have a response is where relationships with our kids are built or broken. I read a report the other day. It says that we are hardwiring our children's nervous system by the way we respond to them. We want to be the calm ones. Like the counselors in our life that's helped us with the daughter that came to us when she was 9. She said, the number one thing you can say to a kid when you don't know what's going on, you just go, I'm going to need to think about that. She goes, they don't want you thinking. But there is nothing that we have called and told this lady that wasn't crazy, that she wasn't. Stay calm. Don't be tossed back. Don't let anger toss you back and forth. Lock in, and we lock in with a pause. So what do you do in the pause? Because here's what I used to do in the pause is I'd go away and I'd ruminate and I'd think about it and I'd come back ready to go. Nancy says, when you get mad, you find your words. And she said, when I get mad, I lose them. That is not a gift. The gift I have of doing that, I'd love to give back. We got to invite God into the pause. God, would you help me to love well right now? Would you give me space for grace? And God gives us a why to pause, to not become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Righteousness is just a fancy word for right living. And I believe what you want for your kid and what I want for my kid, the right way is exactly what God wants. He goes, in this anger, it tosses you back and forth. Anchor in. Slow down so you can have the life and give your kid the life that God wants them to have. In this pause, some of you, this is the only reason you were here. We got to pause. So let me ask you, what is one area that you need to pause and choose a more loving response? What's that deal going on right now where you're going, I got to pause, man. They're really pushing my button about this. And I got to settle down so they'll settle down. And the hope of the pause leads to better responses, and better responses leads to better parenting. All right, we got one more, everybody. What's the first one? See the best. Number 2 is what? Number 3 is what? Number 4 is what? Everybody say pause. Pause. Say, I'm from Alabama, pause. Just pause. You're going to look at your kid and go, buddy, I'm going to need to pause right now. Daddy, mama will be back. This last one, number 5, and I love this one, is to love first. We got to lead out in love. If you're being tossed around and we're responding out of frustration and not knowing, and the dolphin book's not making a lot of sense, and we're all in the middle of it, we got to lock in and go, I gotta love here, because I gotta remember the goal of all this. Why are we doing all this with our kids? Is it because we want them to get into a great school? Is it because we want them to stop driving us crazy? What is parenting all about, and what is the goal? And for those of us who follow Jesus, it's easy to forget the goal, which is raising our kids to love Jesus and love other people. It gets really complicated, but at the end of the day, we want our kids to love Jesus and to love other people. And if someone's not a follower of Jesus, I would dare say that they would think the goal of parenting was them to be a good human. But for us as followers of Jesus, we want to pause and we want to stop, and things get way more locked in and anchored when we're going, I'm going to lead out in love, because here's what happens when we don't. This verse is so convicting to me personally. It says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. All they hear. It doesn't matter if we create a great speech, because sometimes I'll go, boy, that was good. That was smart what I just said to them. Boy, I burned him. He's 10. You outwitted a 10-year-old. Yay, you get a trophy. Just like his baseball team. Everybody got a trophy. Right? In other words, when we're angry, we're not leading out love. They just hear wonk, 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 wonk. The day with my daughter, when I got so upset, she didn't hear a thing about her behavior. She just heard me, right? So why do we do it right? How do we lock in? How do we love first? And I love these verses. They're going to be familiar to a lot of you. Love the Lord your God with all your, everybody say it with me, all your soul, and with all your heart, with all your strength. Let's start again. I need to start again, not you guys. Here we go. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. And Jesus also says this in Matthew. He's like, let me just make this super simple, because we've talked about a lot of things, right? And we can be tossed around thinking about all those things. And what God does, and the only way he does, is let me calm the seas for you for a minute. Let me make this really simple to you, parents. Let me make this really simple to you, followers of Jesus. Let me calm the seas and let me say, you need to focus, and it's to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, body, and mind, because we can't love them like we want to until we do. On our best day without God, we're still not a great parent. On our best day, when we're trying to muster it up, when we're disconnected with him, we're still being tossed. And he says, anchor in and remember who you are, but anchor in and love God with all your heart, soul, body, and mind. And you're talking about anchored in. And then he says, impress them on your children. This being locked in, loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, body, and mind. I want you to do that, he says, and then I want you to impress that on your children. And we can't impress on them what we're not doing ourselves, right? And he says, impress them. Well, how do we do this? And I love this, because it's like, when did I do this? He says, talk about them when you sit at home, when you're on the couch, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. When you're tucking them in, and when they're waking them up in the morning, you're talking about Jesus. And you don't got to be perfect when I say that. You can, in fact, when you reveal some things you struggle with your kids, that lets them know that their goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to walk with Jesus. And we have those conversations when they're waking up in the morning. Is there anything better in the world than getting toddler out of the bed in the morning. They're all warm, and you just go, I love you so much. And you just love them, and then they get to be teenagers, and you go in there, wake them up, and you go, oh, your room smells terrible. But it's these things when they're waking up and we start connecting with them all day long. When does this talking about Jesus thing happen? It happens at home, and we got to be locked down, steady, at peace with God, remembering who we are. And remembering at the end of the day, if I don't get this right, if my tough love's too tough, if I forget to pause, if I don't remember who I am, and I am saying to them that sounds something like Fred to them, in the middle of all doing all that, if I stop and I come back and I remember who they are and I lead out in love, it's powerful and it's important, and it's what their hearts are craving is for us to be solid and to be calm and to be there and to not think that we're God. He's loving through us, but we're not him. And here's the thing. When you talk about impressing all this onto your kid, here's the thing I think you need to remember. And people that are watching, I see you right there, that are watching, is that parenting is a partnership. It's a partnership with God. You're not doing it all on your own. Doesn't that feel good? He loves them more than you do. I know it's hard to believe, but he does. Partnering with God. It's partnering with your spouse. Those of you who are married, and you talk this, we've been walking in our neighborhood for, 20 years, talking about our kids. We have worn out the pavement of Calamar Drive, trying to figure out what to do. You partner with a spouse. And I'm going to tell you, what this woman brings to our kids, in the middle of all my, hey, crazy, the settledness, it becomes a balance. It becomes a balance. You partner with your spouse, and you partner with your church, right? This church, wherever you're watching, wherever you go to church, I guarantee you that church wants to partner with you, wants to be there. When I think about all the children's ministries here and the youth ministries here, it's like, because they want to help impress those things on your kid's heart as well. And then you find people that will say things at church to your kids that they won't hear you say anymore. When they're not listening to you, you find people that will say those same things to them that they'll listen to. For us, it was a youth pastor. They would listen to him. Chapman would listen to Nathan when he wouldn't listen to us. And we're so thankful for Nathan. So allow it to lean into this church, because the goal is raising kids who love Jesus and love others. So here's what I've been praying. This has been my hope. I hope you've just got a couple of handles. Not that you memorize all this, but you walk out and you go, the pause thing's my thing. The remember who I am, that needs to be my thing. I need to be a little bit more empathetic with this one, and I need to pause with this one. It's not figuring it all out. It's not going out and buying all the animal books. It is being locked in with a couple things and then watching what happens. So, what's our 5 intentional thoughts? Number 1 is what? What's number 2? You're good. What's number 3? I'm just giving you the answers. What's the next one? Everybody say pause. It makes me happy every time. Love first. Love first. You guys, both, I'll let you come up, but just, can I pray over them real quick before we start talking? We're not releasing them. We're going to do Q&A. We'll do Q&A, and then we'll pray. Okay? I get it. If you don't want to pray for them, that's great.
Wow, Fred.
You're the children's pastor. You do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Yes, I do sometimes.
You dial in.
Oh, that's good. That's good you're hitting. This is... Nancy, you've never heard this before. No. Ted just wrote this last night. No, actually, they didn't do much last night. You had 2 fire alarms at your hotel last night. That was great.
That was fun.
Yeah, right? But you've never heard this before. What are you hearing in this? What's your response to what you're hearing? This is unique because when you came to Marriage for Life, you heard his thing. You were part of his thing,
Oh, I do feel that as I'm listening, I'm going, he's genuine and he's authentic, and without knowing those specific things, I think we did try all those years with our kids to do that. But oh gosh, if we had heard these simple things 25 years ago, I think it would have helped. It would have just given us more of a framework, I think, instead of the tossing about a lot and pacing up and down our road and talking about them so much.
We around the table the other night, just, if I could start all over again. Yeah. So let's start there. What do you tell the parents who are dealing with teens and dealing with older kids who are like, shoot, where were you 20 years ago when I needed this the most? Not to blame you, but where do I start?
Oh, don't look at me.
You guys, we had 2 of our 4 really struggled with mental illness, with anxiety and depression and ADHD and all the things, and it was rough. And 2 of them hit points where they didn't want to be here. And I can remember our oldest one. We found out he wanted to hurt himself. And I feel like I fight for my kids. And I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And I talked to it. They're like, you're going to have to get him you're going to have to take him to this facility. If you don't, you're going to have to call the cops and tell the cops to come take him. I mean, like if you're going, oh, look at you guys, you got it all figured out. No, we know how hard it is. And I called Nathan from the church because I told the youth pastor, because I'm trying to get my son to come with me, and he is not having it. And I am literally in our backyard, and I am all but chasing him. I had a friend who's 6'5", waiting in the cul-de-sac in case he ran away. He gets on the phone with Nathan. He walks around the corner. He comes back and he goes, let's go. You got to have people. You got to have people. And what Fred will tell you is everybody else is doing it right and you're doing it wrong. And when you mess up, he is just like the lion tearing you apart. So if you're struggling with teenagers, we get it. You got to fight for them, and it's by bringing in other people and other resources. Don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. You got to find the right people, but I mean, you got to find people.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's, we've had our own struggles, with kids who go through disabilities, and then a foster kid who would run away nonstop, and you're dealing with drug issues, and Fred gets really loud. And I think what you just said is, those of you asking the question, where do I even start? That's Fred saying, don't start. What's the point? It's not. You're so far. Find the youth pastor to fix it for you because you're a lost cause. That's a lie. How long did it take God to get a hold of you? God plays the long game. He's playing it with you to get you to this place. He's playing it with your child. And yeah, that's good. Someone text me this while we were sitting there. You talk about your ADHD a lot, and you've talked about that with your kids, and that's something that a lot of parents deal with children. I know you talked about it as a spouse dealing with ADHD. How do you as parents deal with a kid who deals with ADHD? What are the dynamics of that, and where would you start?
Do you want to speak to this?
I could. I am very different than the Teds, Ted and Teddy, and he will get frustrated with Teddy. That's true, but it's also a superpower. Like I can look at Teddy the way I look at Ted, and that they want to change the world. Like I don't. I just want my house to be clean. Like I'm good with. I don't need to change the world. But they are going to change the world, and it might be a chaotic ride to get there, but they are. And I use this with Teddy too, that I say with Ted, you can't be great at everything. Like she can be great at some things, and then she can be paralyzed in others. Same with Ted Lowe. And I think it's just to go, when you see the best, Like you can focus on those things that drive you crazy with ADHD, because there are things, or you can just choose to see the best with them.
Well, and don't miss that line. When she started saying that to me, you can't be great at everything, because ADHD, there's so much shame with it, and there's so much embarrassment with it. Like nobody feels worse about losing things or blurting and getting in trouble than the kid.
Did you lose anything today again?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. 3 or 4 things. It's every day.
Right after you found your keys,
lost
I
his
had to
keys.
look for my keys.
Yeah. There's shame with it. There's frustration with it. Like nobody loses their keys and goes, "This is fun," right? Like I hate traveling with myself alone. It's like bringing a drunk toddler. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to lose? It's going to be terrible. But I think I just watch how I called them buoy people, that God would send like these buoys when you're about to go under is with ADHD that would encourage you. I had a 8th grade teacher who was just like, he just would pour into me with words going, man, I love the way you think, and I love the way you write, and I love this. And Nancy's so patient with this. If you are the ADHD person, there's lots of hacks. I've learned a lot of hacks on how to do it. I don't give up, but there's things that you can do if you're that. So research that, a lot of great with that. But if you've got somebody in the life that's saying you can't be great at everything, that stays calm, stays patient, because when somebody with ADHD, they're already amped up. If you get amped up, they can think even less. So,
and the implication of the can't be great at everything is that
you're great at something.
They're great at something, and it's hard to hear that sometimes through that, because you hear the everything part and not the something that's implied by that.
Yeah,
that's good.
And the threats of kids with ADHD, it's proven, are harder.
Oh, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. How can parents intentionally create emotional safety while still maintaining authority and boundaries?
That's great.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great thing to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is very funny. It just made me think about it. So Teddy and I started this thing when she was young, and we would lay in her bed at night and it'd be dark, and she could ask or say anything she wanted. Because it was dark, she didn't have to look at me. She didn't have to see the expression on my face when I'm going, oh, what? But it started something then that she still can say anything, ask me anything, and it's not going to cost her. I don't know. I didn't do it so well with the boys. Maybe you did better with that. But that was just a thing, and we talk about it even now, like the robot face. Like just be a robot. Just change your face, because I can firmly say my parents were not safe places to say anything that I was really thinking. And so I really wanted that to be different for our kids. And so to just have that neutral face that says, I'm not judging you, I'm not freaking out, even though I am on the inside, to just that neutral, go freak out in your room by yourself.
Yep.
But just give them that safe, calm, anchored in Jesus, neutral. You just want to be that safe place.
You do.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think you can have authority without anger. You know, and I think the goal is for them to think about their behavior. And when we're angry, they're just thinking about our behavior. So I think, set those tough limits. If you don't want them to have a phone until they're 37, don't give them a phone until they're 37. But you do it in a calm, I love you, bud. You don't ride their emotional waves. You sit and you can, and we had somebody tell us, set your rules, let them be what's important to you, and then you stick to those, and you don't vacillate back and forth. Doesn't mean you're not flexible, but I think you can set as strict a boundaries as you want. Just don't do it with anger.
I love that. And when you were sharing, Nancy, and both of you there, if I come to church and someone flips out at me about something that's going on at home or something at school, doesn't faze me. I mean, it hasn't happened in church, but I could be at a ball game and someone could use profanities and explaining how mad they are. It's something that happened somewhere. If it's them, it doesn't faze me. I'm patient, I'm quiet, I'm pausing. If it's my kid, I don't have that kind of patience. How can you say that? Or I don't know if it's because I feel like I failed that they feel that way. I think we go back to the church too, is that the church needs to be the place to surround people. We're so good at seeing the best in the people that come through the front door, but I'm not very good at seeing the best in the ones that live inside my front door with me. Yeah. So, what step would you take to move? I mean, maybe it's just the awareness of that, right?
It is the awareness, and there's so much more at stake with your people, and you feel as parents, you are literally responsible for them. So I think that's why it is so hard to see the best. It's because we're scanning for, are they safe and are they okay? And we want to teach them to find young men and find young women, and we've got these goals. We want them to love Jesus, and we've got these and we're watching, and we're constantly correcting. Where I think as we pull back, we've got to balance it with just adoring them and loving them and seeing the best.
And maybe it's also because I'm not seeing what their problem is. I am seeing my parenting. And I'm more concerned about how I'm feeling about the fact that they're failing and not the fact that they're failing. And my youth pastor just texted me. My job is to give them a place to fail safely.
That's good.
But their failures as kids, again, God plays the long game. He's writing their story. We're not writing their story. We got to get our hands off of God's pen. All right.
That's good.
Yeah. My wife, that's good stuff. Yeah. But it's so how do you patiently pull back so you're not trying to write the kid's story for them when they seem to be just the emotional waves, or really their life is, they're the ocean. Yeah. We're not. Mm-hmm. How do you let them fail safely?
Honestly, as you're asking the question, I think it's a little bit what we've talked about. I'd really do. How do you not be tossed around? I really do feel like you're seeing the best in your kid, and you're choosing empathy with them, and you're remembering who you are, teaching them to do that. You're slowing down. You're loving first. Like, I think these are the things that keep my eyes off of me and who am I? Because we can do that. How well am I doing as a parent?
And how you are reflecting on me as my child. Yeah. Like, you're embarrassing me. You're not making me look good. You're making me look like a bad parent, like we're a bad family. Yeah, it becomes super personal. Yeah, and take yourself out of it.
Yeah, and you go, am I a good parent? Well, who do you ask? The kid. And, play the long game. We don't know yet. Because we can make the right decision with the kid, and they look at us, and they don't look like they like us very much for it. Right? And so we feel, in some ways, we failed because we did the right thing, and their emotion was not like, oh, Dad, you know what? I know I don't have a frontal lobe yet, but I need you to know that this grounding me thing, it's going to be long term. It's going to be great. Right? They don't do that. And so this is not an easy thing, right? Parenting is not easy. That's when we got to anchor in. And that's the word I just keep coming back to.
It's a great visual, right?
I just wasn't for so long, and I have to keep coming back day after day, coming back to Jesus, coming back to Jesus, coming back to Jesus.
The visual of them being this ocean, and we have to be the one.
Yeah.
That's tough because we got to walk the water of our life, and
totally.
but also we're not their anchor. Right? And that brings us to one of your final points in the question I got about our job is not to raise grade 18-year-old kids who can move out and hold a job and go to college and get degrees. Our job is to raise 30-year-old Christ followers. Okay? So how do you disciple? And someone gave me a number. Clearly, they were good breeders. How do you disciple 7 kids? How do you disciple 2 kids, 3 kids in their own individual journey? Like you got 4, right? You got 4. We have 4 or 5-ish, with foster kids and stuff. How do you How do you disciple them? And maybe even as they're aging. What's discipleship look like?
Gosh, bring them to church, bring them here. Like, there's great resources, there are great tools, and I think that passage is just talking about, when they wake up along the way. I'm a really big believer, no matter how many kids you have, of having that alone time with them. Like, that was the way we figured out this life for us, is when I was traveling by myself, I'd always take a kid with me. And it's their best memories. It's, they thought, ooh, we're so fancy in this rental car. This Kia is top notch, I think it's the long time with them, knowing who they are. And it's the daily deposits. It's not so much, parenting is a process. It's not an event, right?
And don't do it by yourself.
No.
Like, don't do it by yourself. Like, if it's friends or if it's grandparents or something, you can't. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to invite the village in.
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still meeting with the same small group we've been meeting with for years and years, and all the kids are getting bigger. And so we'll kind of talk about, like, hey, some of them are not where we want them to be with the Lord. And right now at this phase, let's just pray for them. Let's just keep praying for them. Let's keep talking with them. Let's keep bringing them to church and bribing them with lunch. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
With two of them. Like, hey, you want to meet at church? Go to lunch.
We're buying.
You
can even get a soda and an appetizer.
They can't get an appetizer. No, they can't.
No.
They just now get soda.
Yeah.
I'm going to send this to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your hearts. And I'd like you to close with prayer with us. And I mean, there's so much to pray for, right? We have parents who are starting off. I see parents here with really young ones. I see parents that are in the middle of fire right now. I see parents that aren't united as parents. And there's I mean, if I was playing Romper Room, right, I can see the people on the other side of the screen right now. There's parents who their kids are out and they feel like they've failed them, right? There's so many levels, and there's parents just sitting back, just smiling and breathing because they feel like they've done something right. So thank you for coming and be a part of this. Ted, would you please pray for this group, and I'll wrap up with just a few quick things to put in your ear before we leave.
Abba, Father, thank you. Thank you for this church. Thank you for Bo and his team that care so passionately about families and doing what they can, and to create environments where people can hear about how much you love them and how much you care about their kids. And God, none of us have it figured out. None of us. And we feel tossed. And so, God, we just pray that no matter where people are in this room, no matter where they're feeling tossed, that they would feel a settledness to go, we give ourselves way too much credit and way too much blame. That this is yours. These are your children. Help us to love them. But God, help us to know whose they are. They're yours. Help us to nurture who you've created them to be. God, help us not to miss the joy of it all, and the laughter of it all, and the memories of it all. Help us to be solid. Help us to be full of peace. Help us to be, as they're being tossed around, God, help us to be as peaceful and as loving as possible. And God, I just pray for every couple in this room, and every grandparent in this room, and every single parent in this room, every blended parent in here, that you would send people around them to let them know that they're not alone. They're not the only ones trying to figure it out and feeling tossed. And God, we thank you that you love us. Thank you that you left us your word. And God, please, please, please be with these families and help them to see you in the middle of it. And I pray it all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Ted. For those of you here, those of you at home, see you, Nancy. She's gone.
She's left. Me too.
Well, see you, Ted.
She's cuter than you. I'm going down here.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow. And as Ted already said, and as we always say in our Marriage for Life, you drank through a fire hose for the last 2 hours. Take one thing and do that one thing. Do that one thing different tonight. Maybe you need to send a text if you're not angry. But if you're angry, don't send the text. But send the text tonight. Do something tonight. Do something tomorrow differently than you did today. And don't worry about getting them all right tomorrow. And celebrate that, and let God celebrate it with you. Let your spouse or your family, your community celebrate it with you, and immerse yourself. Churches that are watching online, man, thank you for getting together and watching this. Thank you for doing this journey together, and keep fighting together as families, and keep fighting together for marriages as well. So Marriage for Life registration opens this coming Saturday at 6 a.m. And this is one thing, one of our premises is the goal is to remove obstacles couples have from working on their marriage. That's why it's only $85 for your room and your breakfast, and that's why we're trying to create more opportunities and events. We're talking to another city about hopefully starting one other city here in another year or two. If money is tight, all right, reach out to us. And I'm not saying that here today, Spring. I'm saying that to you in your communities, or reach out to me. Email us at Marriage for Life. Call us at Marriage for Life. We'll see what we can do about helping you, because we don't want anything, money or time or whatever, being an excuse for not working on this most important relationship God has given you in your life. All right? So thank you very much. Have a good night, and we'll see you in January, February.